the secret of causation is that imagining creates reality. When you close your eyes, what dreams do you have? Close your eyes. Just one. Just let one go. Isn't that great? Well, this morning we're going to talk about those million dreams. We're going to talk about imagining. Yes, Disney. Okay, so this month we are talking about ignite the power of your mind. Not anybody else's, yours. You get an individualized expression of it. You get to choose what it is you want to put in it. You get to choose what you don't want to put in it. And most importantly, thanks to this month, we're going to figure out the true secrets of the thing that is really bringing the within to the without that we don't think about hardly ever. We don't put attention on, most often not. And it actually is the biggest driver of our life. And it starts with the reason why we chose this book of the month. So Dr. Peacher and I decided that we would go to the classic, but not a classic Ernest Holmes book. What other classic has been so powerful that's been written that has changed so many other people's lives? This book was written in 1963. Can you imagine if you came after 1963 or not? Doesn't matter, but you started your life with this book. Once you read it, you'll understand why. It's this pocket classic. It's a small classic. It's actually by Joseph Murphy. And what we really are going to talk about is one of his books. But we decided that we wanted you to have the whole collection. Because if one book is good, we figured you might want to read some of the other collections as you go. You like that? Have a big collection in your library. So we decided it's a pocket-sized collection book anyway. And so you might as well get it in the book nook, and then you too can carry it around in your pocket like I'm going to. When they arrived, we were like, who's going to buy this big book? I don't know how much shipping we paid for either to get them here. But anyway, I'm kidding. But see this marker? This is like where the book that we want you to read starts. I just want you to know the power of your subconscious mind. So, all right, we won't be able to carry it around in our pocket. But if you take this to Starbucks and start reading, I think you'll get some attention. You might get a date. Who knows? That's a good treasury. So go get that today in the book nook, your pocket collection. It's really good. So Joseph Murphy, what I love, and everybody talks about this, it's down-to-earth practicality. It's simple to use techniques. It is very well-written, simple to use techniques and formulas. And we're going to talk about how this really, truly can change your life, this power of your subconscious mind. So he starts on how this book can work miracles in your life. Anybody want some miracles? Yes. And so he talks about, and every week we're going to talk about something specific. But I want to lay the groundwork first before we go into the specifics, okay? We got to have a strong foundation. And so he says, what do you believe? Let's see if I can hold the book and click at the same time. It is not the thing believed in that brings an answer to one's prayers. The answer to prayer results when the individual's subconscious mind responds to the mental picture of thought in his or her mind. The law of belief is operating in all religions of the world. and is the reason why they are psychologically true. The Buddhist, the Christian, the Muslim, and the Hebrew all may get answers to their prayers, not because of the particular creed, religion, affiliation, ritual, ceremony, formula, liturgy, incantation, sacrifices, or offerings, but solely because of belief or mental acceptance and receptivity for that for which they pray. See, everyone is using this. They just may not know. The law of life is the law of belief, and belief could be summed up briefly as a thought in your mind. As a man thinks, feels, and believes, so is the condition of his mind, body, and circumstances. A technique, a methodology based on an understanding of what you are doing and why you are doing it will help you to bring about a subconscious embodiment of all the good things of life. Essentially, answered prayer is the realization of your heart's desire. Who wants answered prayer? Realization of our heart's desires, right? He continues. Everyone desires health, happiness, security, peace of mind, true expression, but many fail to achieve clearly defined results. A university professor admitted to me recently, quote, I know that if I changed my mental pattern and redirected my emotional life, my ulcers would not recur. But I do not have any technique, process, or modus operandi. My mind wanders back and forth on the many problems, and I feel frustrated, defeated, and unhappy. This professor had a desire for perfect health. He needed a knowledge of the way his mind worked, which would enable him to fulfill his desire by practicing the healing methods outlined in this book. This small little collection. He became whole and perfect. Emerson tells us there is one mind common to all individual men and women. I put the women in there for us, okay? So there's only one mind, and it's common to all of us. That is a key thing to get through this month. The miracle-working powers of your subconscious mind existed before you and I were born, before any church or world existed. The great eternal truths and principle of life antedate all religions. It is with these thoughts in mind that I urge you in the following chapters to lay hold of this wonderful, magical, transforming power which will bind up mental and physical wounds, proclaim liberty of the fear-ridden mind, and liberate you completely from the limitations of poverty, failure, misery, lack, and frustration. Now that's a pretty good thing he's claiming, yes? He tells us all you have to do is unite mentally and emotionally with the good you wish to embody, and the creative powers of your subconscious will act accordingly. Begin now, today, we both tell you. Let wonders happen in your life. Keep on keeping on until the day breaks and the shadows flee away. People used to drive 5 hours to see this guy speak. So, Michael, when you're driving an hour and a half, it's no big deal. This is a powerful book. I cannot stress it enough. And he's going to walk us through it. And we're going to use this book more than we do a lot of our books this month. So there is a gold mine that is actually, as he says, it's already within you. It was there before you were born. And you have exactly what you need to live life gloriously, joyously, and abundantly. And it begins, and that day begins, no matter where we've been up till now. I don't know where you've been up to now. It could be the greatest dream you've ever could imagine. And can you imagine more? That's a real question. Can you imagine more? Yes. So wherever we've been up to now, we can go even more and use more that has already been in us long before we were born. He tells us that many of us, though, are sound asleep because we don't know about this gold mine of infinite intelligence and boundless love within ourselves. And I love that. He doesn't just focus on infinite intelligence. He focuses also on boundless love, which I've used that phrase now for almost a decade. There's boundless love. And so it's time for us to wake up. And as Rumi says, once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. And we talk about this a lot, don't we? But in here, which is good. But how often do we do it on such a consistent basis that we get to prove to ourselves that this stuff really does work to an extreme that we can't even sometimes believe, but yet we do, right? So we have this gold mine. And it's in us. So it doesn't matter what you've done up till now, we can ignite it and begin it from here, because this is what is causal right now for that. Okay? What's gotten us right here has been causal from that. You with me? Yes. So we can choose to begin right now, to fine-tune it, to ignite it, to wake it up. So this marvelous power of our subconscious mind, he says that within our subconscious depths lies this infinite wisdom, this infinite power, this infinite supply. See, he doesn't once say finite. It's all infinite. It's wisdom, it's power, it's supply. All that is necessary, which is waiting for development and expression. So the best representation, graphically, that one can find, or at least I could, about this subconscious and how it works, is the good old iceberg. The iceberg. We've got the conscious mind, and we've got the subconscious mind. What's, quote, the larger of the two? What's on the surface? What's below the surface? What's running the boat? Subconscious. It's running it. So the conscious mind is our surface thoughts, our wishes, our desires, our aspirations. Those are our conscious thoughts. There are now things. Have a wish right now. That's a conscious thought. The subconscious is the automatic and the habitual thoughts, patterns, and belief. They're automatic. Now, neuroscientists tell us that subconscious mind is at least 5 times more powerful than the conscious one. So that's where the power lies. But how much time do we spend on it? Bruce Lipton, there's a really great article that I read where he is a cellular biologist. And he talks about what happens in a petri dish as it relates to the cells of our body. It's quite fascinating, but you know, they only give me a few minutes up here. But according to Bruce Lipton, the cellular biologist, when we are fully present, focused on what we are doing in the moment, he says the conscious mind is driving the bus, okay? When we're focused presently, it's driving the bus. We've got to be fully focused to do that. But as soon as we start thinking about something other than this moment right here, y'all have already wandered on me at least 3 times, I figure. As soon as we start thinking about something other than this moment, our subconscious program kicks in to keep things moving and keep it safe. Think about it. You're driving a car. Think of any time you've driven a car and someone's there, the radio's on, or you got a cell phone, or you got a latte, or whatever it is, right? You're fully present driving the car, but the moment you're on to something else, right, it still knows how to go. Have you ever ended up in a destination, you go, I don't remember driving? That's the subconscious. That's the automatic patterns. Does anybody have a heart beating right now, a breath taking place? All the cells, the circulatory, blah, blah, blah in the body, right? That's all subconscious. That's the patterns that are going on. We're not even having to focus about it. He says, now here's the crazy part. Because of how much time we spend thinking about something other than the moment we are in, scientists suggest that we're running our default programs about 95% of our waking life. Ugh. Ow. Or maybe you're happy. And while some of these programs are positive, empowered, and helpful, psychologists believe that the majority of our default programs that most people are running are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting. The default programs in the subconscious mind, when we look at science of mind, the subconscious mind is where the universal law finds the patterns and the molds that create life. That's where it takes place. So the most pressing question I have for us in this moment is, what default programs are running your life? Anybody got one just want to shout out? Fear. Not enough. Anxiety. Depression. Stress. Just think about that. 95% of the time is running us. Any one of those, right? But the great news is we can change what we believe, and we can change the default programs and rewrite them. And we can do that beginning now. That's the really great news. And so Einstein tells us, and we're going to today, that's the foundation, okay? The subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind. When we truly get this, our life changes, and we get to tell other people and be that, living, walking example of this stuff really works. And I started on March 4th, 2018. But when we really get this, we ignite the power of our mind. It's in our subconscious mind because it's running us 95% of the time. And today, we're going to focus on imagination and visualization. But imagination. Einstein tells us, he was a pretty smart dude, wasn't he? Imagine a thing to be and set about to make it so. Imagine it to be. And everything sets about to make it so. But we have to imagine it first. We've got to believe that it's possible. So we've got to use our pure imagination. Remember when we were kids, when we used our imagination all the time? How often do we use our imagination now? And when we do, what happens? How quickly does perhaps a conscious voice come in and say, oh, can't do that? Or we talk about something. Do you know that Walt Disney, speaking of Walt Disney, when we started, it was like, it's like Walt Disney. He started drawing flowers with faces and expressions, and the teacher said, flowers don't have faces. Stop imagining that. Think about that. But he imagined a talking mouse, and he imagined a talking duck, and he imagined, and it is a mecha empire that we all go, and it's called the happiest place on earth. Who's been? Most of us. And it started with pure imagination. The wonderful thing about this, and this is your nugget today for imagination. The wonderful thing about this is that brain researchers have now determined that there are no filters at all on the subconscious level of our brain that can distinguish between imagination and reality. Not a filter, not a one. that subconscious mind of ours can't say that's not real. So therefore, everything, this is the good news and this is the bad news, everything in our subconscious mind is known to be real. So, because our subconscious can't tell between real and imagination, it is an utmost important and valuable resource. In fact, I dare say it's the most important and valuable resource we have, because it can't say, that ain't true. It knows it to be true, and therefore what happens? It is true. So you can choose to bring anything or change anything in your life. You can choose that. And the only thing that limits this is either an old belief or your current conscious mind that's saying, that ain't gonna work. Don't tell anybody. Don't even attempt it. Don't try to write that book or whatever. Are you crazy? You can't sing. Don't try out for the choir. You ain't good enough. There's a wonderful thing in this book where it talks about this soprano singer. And he believed that he had all of a sudden in his mind that he couldn't sing well, so of course his voice just started going to you know what, and he started talking to that voice, and he said, "That little me doesn't belong." It's a great story, and he talked consciously to that voice, and he went out on stage and he sang like he had never. That small me is trying to get our attention all the time, isn't it? Or is it just me and my small me? But there's a big me, and it's wanting that bottom of that iceberg. It's wanting to unleash itself. So anything, and I mean anything. Now, there are a couple of topics in our life I've found that we just think, oh, it won't work for that, right? Maybe. Okay, it's just me. So I'm going to take it all the way to the edge of the branch. You ready? We're going to go all the way to the edge of what you might go, no, that don't work. I want you to watch this video. It was a true, I found several references, but I edited one, so it's short. This is a real deal. And then I'm going to tell you why I'm bringing it up after this. You ready?
From coast to coast, wannabe millionaires shrug off daunting odds for a shot at $640 million. At this liquor store in Hawthorne, California, some wait for hours, hoping luck will strike again.
We made 6 different millionaires, so everybody feels lucky over here, and we sell a lot, and they figure we're going to sell another one.
That lucky streak is fueling hopes of reliving a moment that $112 million jackpot winner Cynthia Stafford remembers well.
I just kind of stood and cried for a moment, like, okay, this is awesome. This is really awesome. I didn't faint though I kind of felt like I was close to it.
Stafford used her millions to become the owner of a production company and philanthropist. She says she was in danger of losing her house, caring for her brother's 5 children after he was killed in a car accident when she won big in 2007. What worked for her? She says she visualized the number 112 million. And when the jackpot hit that amount, she bought 2 tickets.
It was just a number that I randomly picked. And I said, well, that sounds good. And wrote it down on a sheet of paper, meditated on it until I no longer felt the need to meditate, and voila. It happened, yeah.
Cynthia Stafford dismisses all the math, and she's had the last laugh.
I tell people, don't say I'm gonna buy a ticket and, but I probably won't win. Yeah, you're not gonna win. Because you gave your ticket away. You gave your money away.
See, Dr. Petra knew about this book. She's read it. I hadn't. I started reading this book on vacation. And then I started researching this book. Who is this guy and all that? That woman's name came up. Why? because she read the power of your subconscious mind and she put it to work. It was right there. I was like, oh my gosh. She picked an arbitrary number, 112 million. She meditated. In other words, she followed what this book says to do. And she did that until, what did she say? Until she felt like she didn't need to. Why? The belief rose. In her subconscious mind, it was like lodged. It's like it was already here. She saw 112 come up and bought 2 tickets. I'm taking us to the edge. You may not want to win the lotto. That's okay. There is something that is your edge. If you can imagine it, if you can know it, if you can believe it, and you pull it fully into your subconscious mind, so within, so without. We focus on that. We're not focusing on this. I'm getting pretty serious with myself, first and foremost, and with each of you. Because you know what? I want a lot of philanthropists in this community. I heard Randy Craig stand up here and give a testimonial and say, so I'm going to tell him to read this book and pick a number. What's he winning? Now don't forget to tithe to CSLDallas when you win the lotto. I say that in advance. I tithe all the time. Whether I sell a house, it doesn't matter. I promise you I will when I win the lotto. It's already here. I already have my number. I'm already working the method. Why? Because the greatest thing I think I could be, other than a minister, is a philanthropist. I want 400 plus people associated with this community that wants it and can imagine it to be, I don't care whether you're mega or the power. Is that the 2? Okay, SEP team is in. So if you want it, I'm going to tell you what to do next. Are you interested? But you've got something else that you desire. That is your edge. We're going to go there. And I want people to start working this book, which is our philosophy, and start going bam, 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 bam. So then we can tell more people, let's do this. Bam, 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 bam. Right? Yes. I want a lot of philanthropists. So the secret of causation is that imagining creates reality. There it is, 3 words. Imagining creates reality. It's here. I've imagined it. I know it. I believe it. I feel it. There's no question. So, there's a key moment. There's a very key moment in our subconscious mind that we can focus in on. And this is your homework. This is your take-home homework. The subconscious mind is most comfortable and most open when you are unconscious. And when are you unconscious? When you're asleep. I'm telling you, I am so grateful that I have to give this talk to y'all today because it's changed my life already. I know this in preparation of this. I just get paid to do this, which thank you very much for that. The most important time is right before we fall asleep, because the sleep state is when we're unconscious. Now, I have not been doing this up until now. And so that's when the subconscious is the most busy at work. I started reflecting on this, and when I was a young girl, I watched a lot of horror movies. And it was interesting. I started noticing when I watched Dracula, I won't tell you some of the others I watched, but when I watched Dracula at night, right before I went to bed, I had nightmares. When I watched a horror movie in the middle of the day, I didn't. You see where I'm headed? the most important time is these last minutes before we fall asleep. I am so grateful to understanding this now because truly, consistently, what I tend to do right before I go to sleep, oh my gosh, let's just talk about the news. Not again. Okay? So if you're doing that with me, let's all stop. The most important time, I watched an entire Wayne Dyer talk. This is the name of it. I invite you to do that. It was brilliant. The last 5 minutes before you go to sleep is the most important time because think of it like a piece of meat. You're about to marinate that piece of meat for 8 hours. How do you want that to come out when you wake up? And what if you did that every night, over and over again, right? That last, you're sealing the deal right before you go to sleep. I know this is so important. Dr. Petra has begged me, don't tell her any news before she goes to sleep. Now I know why. I'm sorry, Petra. Right? It's important. So we're gonna, right before we fall asleep, we're gonna consciously implant what's going into our unconscious. Who's with me from here on out? Oh, look around. Look at each other. We're gonna have some really cool stuff to talk about. Now this takes discipline. So, we know maybe what it generally looks like for us right now. They talk about how we generally replay our day, what went wrong, what did I not get done, whatever. Like you might be looking at the news and all that. So all these instructions. So now we're going to flip it. We're going to change it. We're no longer going to do that, right? We're going to consciously choose what we imagine, what we dream, what we already know is in our life right before we fall asleep. And we're going to go to sleep on that. And it's going to take it into that big bottom part of the iceberg. And it is going to drive that boat right through it. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited about this. Starting tonight, divine imagining and human imagining are not two powers at all, but they're one. Remember that subconscious mind is subjective. It's subject. It is the servant to us, and it does not know the difference between imagination and reality. $112 million sitting in my bank account. That's not my number, but that's okay. I'm using hers. You see what I'm saying? It's there. And imagine that and feel that and think about what nonprofits or whatever you're going to do with it. I don't care. I just know you're going to consciously do it. You're not going to do harm with it. I know you. So let's be philanthropists or whatever it is that you want right before you fall asleep. So what can you imagine? And prior to sleep, turn over a specific request to your subconscious mind and prove it. I want you to prove that this is true. I want you to tell us that it's true because you're putting it to work so that then we could tell everybody else, hey, did y'all start doing that right before you fell asleep? Well, no. Well, Septima did, and oh my gosh, she's won the lotto. Let's get on that bus, right? Right? We already have one example. That's all we need. Her name is Cynthia. She read this book. She put it to use. And now she's a philanthropist and done really good work in the world. So, not only, and I want us to marinate on this. I want us to give some time to this. Not only, what is it that you can imagine for your life? But what is it that you can imagine this world to be? What can you? So we're going to talk about other things for the next 3 Sundays. Next week I'm going to talk about what happens when something comes into your mind. These are really solid tools. You don't want to miss the tools. But what can you imagine this world to be right before you go to sleep. Marinate it. See, there's only one mind. And when you lodge what you imagine this world to be, so within, so without. Imagine the thing to be and set about to make it so. So, I'll see you all in the Lotto Winners Circle. And so it is. You can hold hands, you can stand, you can hold yourself. Just imagine. Bring into your consciousness, imagine what this world can be. Imagine. Smile while we imagine this world that works for everyone. That no matter what has happened before this moment, this is a new cause in motion. Because what we imagine right now, our subconscious believes is real. And what I know to be real and true is there is this infinite, limitless, energetic presence, this presence of love. It is the one power. It is the one love. It is the one mind. It is that which brings its energy to all things, seen and unseen. It's the greatest power and presence there is because there's nothing outside of it. And what I imagine this presence to be is an all-loving, an all-caring, a non-judging, an all-inclusive presence and power. I imagine this power to not leave anything out of itself because it's itself. And it's all equal and it's all grand. And it unabashedly gives to itself so fully and so freely, effortlessly. And as I know that this is what this power, this presence is, I know that I am that I am. And as I know that this is the truth of me and my life, I know this is the truth of every single sentient being on this planet. For we are the one mind, we are the one body. We move about and we consciously use this body for good. And so I claim and declare that there is more than enough for this body. There's more food. There's enough love. There's shelter. There's kindness. There's compassion. That every time there's a need, the need is met by another energy of that one body. And so I know that in this moment I imagine that there is an awakening to the power that we are, to the imagination that we have, and we use it for good. We harm no one, nothing. In our own hearts and mind, we don't exclude anyone. We move forward as a collective whole, and it is truly once and for all in our generation, not the next. It ain't up to them, it's up to us. It's a world that works for everyone, and that's what I imagine. And so I release this into the universal law. I let it marinate. I know it is so. We let it be. And if you, like me, can imagine a world that works for everyone, I ask you to join with me in saying amen, ashe, aho, and so it is. Yay. I'm going to marinate on that every time before I go to sleep.
I hope you love watching these as much as we love sharing them with you. And to help us spread the message and to keep this going, please donate. You can text. You'll find the number on your screen. You can go find Easy Tithe as an app and find CSL Dallas. Or you can come to our website, CSLDallas.org/give, and donate there. And while you're there, check us out. And when you're in Dallas, come visit. We want you to be part of our community, and we love having you here.